we might know how to solve 1 and 2 step equations, but sometimes we're faced with equations that look a little overwhelming. They have a lot of parentheses or fractions, and they could be intimidating. So today we're going to discuss the fact that no matter how complicated they look, if you follow the steps that you know to solve equations, one step at a time, you can kind of avoid getting overwhelmed and just solve it like any other equation. Okay, so how do we solve equations? The first thing we're going to do is when we see a bunch of parentheses, we want to see if those parentheses are indicating that we have to use the distributive property. And in number 1, you can indeed see that that's exactly the case. So what am I going to do to make this a little less complicated? Okay, I'm going to distribute the 3. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12, so I get rid of those parentheses. Now, let's take our next thing that we have to distribute. Negative 2 times 3x would be negative 6x. You can also think of it as subtracting 2 times 3x and subtracting 2 times 4. Okay, so we've done this, and now we have to do this. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Okay, let's look at our other side. We have 4 times 3, which is 12. And 4 times negative x is negative 4x. And then we just have plus 5x plus 4. And it still looks kind of messy. But what we can do is we can combine our like terms. So let's see what that looks like. First, I'm going to collect my x's. So I have 3x on this side minus 6x. And then I'm going to, let's see, work on my constants and combine them. Okay? So here we go. We have 3x minus 6x would be negative 3x. And then we have a negative 12 plus a negative 8, which is negative 20, or minus 20 if that's how you want to think of it. Okay? Other side already. See, it's looking not so intimidating anymore. All right. Here we have our negative 4x plus 5x, and you always want to highlight the sign with it so that you know what operation you're going to do. And let's do the plus 4 and the 12. All right, so what do we have here? We have negative 4x plus 5x, and negative 4 plus 5 would be just 1x, and I'm going to write that as x. And then I have plus 12 plus 4, which is plus 16. Okay, so now it doesn't look so scary. Okay, remember, one step at a time. Now, what's the next thing we have to do? We have to collect our variable terms on one side and our constants on the other. So you have a choice. You can collect them on whatever side you want. I like my x to be positive, so I'm going to add 3x to both sides. You can subtract the x from both sides as well. So plus 3x. And what does that give me? Okay, these are opposites. They end up being 0. So I have negative 20 equals x plus 3x would be 4x plus 16. Okay, now let's subtract 16 from both sides to get rid of that. Okay, and we've got that. And so we have 4x equals negative 20 plus negative 16 is negative 36. Last step before we're done, divide both sides by 4. And what do we get? Negative 36 divided by 4 is negative 9. And this is 1. And so we're left with x equals negative 9. Not so difficult, right? Let's try one more. Let's make it a little more colorful here. Okay, here we have parentheses and fractions. Well, remember, step by step, it becomes not as overwhelming. Let's distribute the 1/2. Okay, so 1/2 times 2, or 1/2 of 2, is merely 1. And then 1/2 times negative 6x. What's 1/2 of negative 6? Negative 3. So we have 1 minus 3x. Now, we've got to distribute this. Negative 4 times x would be negative 4x. And then a negative 4 times a positive 3/2. Well, negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. So that would be negative 12 halves, which we're going to simplify in a minute. All right, other side. Well, that's pretty easy. We don't actually need the parentheses here. Well, do we? Oh, wait, look at this negative sign. Now, that can indicate that you can do two things. I prefer remembering that a negative sign means take the opposite of everything that comes after it. In this case, everything in the parentheses. The other way you can think about it as negative 1 times whatever's in the parentheses, and then you distribute the negative 1. But I'm going to think, okay, opposite of x is negative x, and opposite of negative 3 is positive 3. So that's going to give me x plus 3 plus 4. Okay? Now, let's see if we can do anything on this left side. Oh, look, okay, let me simplify this fraction first off. So I'm going to rewrite everything because I like to be very careful. 1 minus 3x minus 4x minus what is 12 divided by 2? 6. And then that's going to equal negative x. And you can put a 1 in front of the x if that makes it easier. Plus 3 plus 4. Okay, let's combine our like terms. We have negative 3x, negative 4x, and then we have a 1 and a negative 6. So let's see, negative 3x plus negative 4x, that's negative 7x, and 1 minus 6 is negative 5. So we have negative 7x minus 5 equals, is there anything we can combine here? Yes, we have plus 3 and plus 4. And that's going to give us 7. So we have negative x plus 7. Again, little by little, getting less intimidating. Okay, let us see. What are we going to do here? I'm going to, again, I want x to be positive. So I'm going to add 7x to both sides. And remember, you can always put a 1 if that makes it easier for you. Okay, this is going to be 0. So I'm left with negative 5 equals negative 1 plus 7 is going to give me 6x plus 7. Let's subtract the 7 from both sides. Okay. And that gives us 0. And we are left with what? Negative 5 plus negative 7, negative 12, equals 6x. And last step, we don't want 6x, we want 1x. So we're going to divide both sides by 6. This is going to be 1. 6 over 6 is 1. And x is going to equal, what is negative 12 divided by 6? Negative 2. And so that is how we avoid this intimidation. We know that we can solve equations. Once we know we can solve equations, we can solve any equations. And it's as easy as can be.